The graph below shows the number of students at Collins Middle School enrolled in Spanish classes over a 6-year period. Based on the graph, which statement is true? A, the number of students enrolled in Spanish increased by about 300% from year 1 to year 6. B, the number of students enrolled in Spanish during year 6 was about 7.5 times the number enrolled in Spanish in year 1. C, the number of students enrolled in Spanish increased the most from year 5 to year 6. D, the number of 8th grade students enrolled in Spanish increased by about 25% each year. First thing to look at is back at the graph to see if there's any information you need to be aware of when you're looking at the graph. What I notice is that between 0 and 20, there is a little squiggly to represent it's a broken graph, meaning that there are numbers between 0 and 20 not accounted for. So the interval between 0 and 20 is different than between 20, 30, 40, 50. It goes from tens after the 20 point. So you need to be careful with that the visual representations may be slightly different from what's described in each one of those statements. Looking again at which one I can eliminate first, I would eliminate D first because it says the number of 8th grade students enrolled in Spanish increased by 25% each year. If you look at the graph, there are dips in the graph between year 3 and 4. So there was not an increase every year. We don't even have to look at the 25% piece because there was a decrease between year 3 and 4. If I look at C, might be the next easiest one to look to see if it's true or not. It says the number of students enrolled in Spanish increased the most from year 5 to 6. Well, to make sure and see if it did increase the most, I need to look at the difference between each set of bars. So I've already done that, and I'm just pulling it over here to the screen for us. Between the first 2 years, there was a 25 difference. Between the next 2 years, there was 25 difference. Between year 3 and 4, there was a 5-year drop. And it does say increase, so we know that we're not looking at 3 to 4. 4 to 5, there was a 15 student increase, and from 5 to 6, a 15 student increase when I subtract those two numbers. So C can be eliminated because it is not the most. The most occurred between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. If I look at A and B, they're both looking at years 1 to year 6. So if I just draw a line to look at from year 1 to year 6, here's year 1. I'm going to go ahead and pull this other information off. And year 6 is way up here at 100. If I look at year 1, it represents 25 students, even though it looks to be a lot shorter because remember we have that break in the graph up here, down here between 0 and 20. So if I continue putting bars to represent 25 students, groups of students at a time, looking at B, it says it's 7.5 times the number enrolled in year 1. Well, if it's 7.5 times, it would take 7.5 bars more to get up to the year 6. So I'm going to drag bars over. This bar represents 25 students, so now I'm up to 50. Remember, it's not the same size as the original bar because the original bar is shorter because of our break. And then if I bring bars over to keep counting up to 100, I add another bar and get to 75 and a third bar to get to 100. So there's only 3 times bigger here. It's not 7.5 times bigger, so I can eliminate B. So now let's look at A to see, just make sure that we agree that that is the correct answer. It says the number of students enrolled in Spanish increased by about 300% from year 1 to year 6. Well, remember 100% represents a whole. So if I look back over at my graph, I added 20, the whole is 25 students, my original amount. I added another 25 students to represent that second bar on top, and then I added 2 more groups of 25 students. So that represents 100%, another 100% for 200%, and that third bar is 300%. So A is the correct answer.